Yo, JD here, Tyrrell Limitless, and as you can see, we are finally back with a league racing video on F1 2020, and it feels like it's been such a long time since I've done one because I've just been super busy with F1 esports this past week, including today as I'm just recording this video. So yeah, it's been a while. I've got a league race tomorrow at TSRL France, which I am really looking forward to because it's going out of some tracks that I call the Bermuda Triangle of tracks for me, which is Monaco, Baku and Canada. I can't put into words how much I dislike these tracks. Although Baku, I did get quite good at it after a lot of practice, but after the minus 273 degree tyres, it's no longer a favourite track of mine, pretty much. So we move on to Canada, the last track in this series. And you can see at the start of the session, it's just going to be raining towards the end of this Q2 session. So that's why I'm going out so early. Q1 was actually quite good. I got through pretty comfortably, pretty nicely on one set of tyres as well. But it is the man of the hour. It is Jakey B, who is an absolute beast around this track. I don't understand how he is that fast around here, and honestly, being honest, he is probably the fastest man on Xbox right now. He's just doing so well, but we're doing something a little bit sneaky here. We're doing a Verstappen at the start of this lap because it is due to rain at any second now, and I didn't want to hang around whatsoever, so I jumped my teammate and Jakey B to start this lap because this is probably the only lap that I'm about to get in this session, because if I bottle this, then it could be very bad news for me. So going on a soft tyre, and I'm just doing my best to not invalidate, doing a 19.0 first, which is, you know, it's not setting the world on fire, but it's not particularly bad either. So pretty solid as the track is overcast, the temperature is not high, and drops of rain should be coming at any moment now. Going through this middle sector split, it is a 40.4, which is not particularly quick, but I anticipated that everyone wouldn't be risking it all or nothing on this lap because they know that this is the only lap that they're going to get to try and get through into the Q3. So now going into my most hated corner on the F1 Canada, it is the Wall of Champions chicane. Going through it here, not being that committed because I just wanted to get through it, and going across the line, it is an 8.0, which is I was quite happy with, and it's Hawk who's on pole at the moment, the provisional pole in this Q2. Jacob B just slots in behind, so he's definitely either done a 0.9 or 0 as well. And at the end of the session, it is enough once again for the top three and comfortably through into Q3. But Q3 has started on intermediate tyres, which I hadn't done any preparation for or anything at all because, again, I said last week, and it's not even really because of F1 esports, it's just really because I just don't like this track whatsoever. So I did all the prep I did in the dry, and I felt I made quite a good leap of pace compared to WR, which I just had no pace around here. And we're about to start, I think, my fastest lap in the session, or end my first lap, and it's a 22.6, which is not particularly quick because this is my first time doing the inters around here, but I can see straight away, you can see we're almost a tenth and a half up going into this blind right-hander. As we don't see that, we just cut to the end of my lap, but you can see we're over a second up doing a purple middle sector. So going through into chicane, it's very important that you don't invalidate because it will validate your next lap as well. But going through here, we did this pretty nicely in almost 2 seconds up, and we do a 20.7, less than a tenth behind Jakey B at this point. And moving on to the last lap I got in this session, improving even more. So the track is getting much better, and we're back into P2. It's about half a second away still from Jakey B, who is just absolutely insane, as I said, around here. But I invalidated my last lap here, and I don't think we will. I think we'll go slightly improve anyway, but I don't think that would have gained me a position at all. So at the end of this session, this has actually put me in P4, which is really not too bad. Like, consider it's Canada. I thought that was actually okay. And I knew I was quite fast in the race. Not quite as fast as JQB, I think, but I knew I could definitely do something in the race. But KJ Gamer actually qualified in Q2. He actually went out on the mediums and managed to just scrape through. So he's in a very, very good starting position, in fact. And just a pre-warning, this race is probably going to be quite a long video, as we've got 5 lights here and waiting for them to go out. We get a pretty decent start, pretty equal start to the front 2, but understandably get a better start than KJ. We try and get the inside for the right hander, which we do very nicely, as BRL Parondi, just joining the league, has gone up into P2, and KJ's just trying to fight it, but luckily he decides to back out of it because he is on the sober compound right now. And I think I had a little bit of a tap from KJ there because I almost lost the car. But yeah, around this track, I'm just really looking forward to moving on from this track, because I just can't describe of just how little confidence I have around here. And I know people have those tracks, but for me it seems to be quite extreme, because as we already get our first corner cut warning, it just seems to be really extreme that I seem to be very, very fast at 80% of the tracks, and very, very good, really, really good at a couple. But then there is just these few tracks that I just have zero confidence on, and this is definitely one of them. I used to think I was bad at Bahrain, but I'm so much worse here than I was at Bahrain. Bahrain, I won around that track. So, but yeah, coming towards the end of lap 4, JQB, you could see, has just completely gone. His pace was just scary around here, absolutely terrifying. But we still have a chance of getting into P2 in this race. So the damage reputation is really good, because we have lost so many points in this championship because of my recent races of Zandvoort and Baku, getting no points at those tracks when we started on the front row for each. But KJ has got a very good run coming off this last corner and now going to tail one. We're side by side, so I'm trying to hold him on the outside, but he pushes me completely wide. He even went off the track and stuff. We go back on the track, making a little bit more contact, so it's getting very, very feisty for no reason here. He's still trying to hold it round the outside, and yeah, for me, looking at that, as he's still trying to go down the inside, because this is the point where the mediums can really start to take over, but I feel like we're just fighting quite unnecessarily here, because we're losing a lot of time. He's still trying to make a move here, and at this time I was a little bit annoyed, to be honest, because I felt like I left him the room, and he even went off the track himself when he was overtaking me. He went off track, so I felt like I was leaving him all the room, but I just got pushed out wide, and when I tried to come back on the track, I just had zero grip whatsoever. So we've lost the DRS to Parondi, and that could be crucial for the result of this race, as KJ is now going to make a move on me. I've decided to go into the pits. He comes back across almost on the racing line there. We go into the pits now, and we've lost, you can see, about a second to Parondi, and this could put us at a risk of now being jumped in the pits, because LCR Leopard is right behind, and he is one of the first cars in the pit entry with being in the Red Bull, and he's actually jumped me in the pits. And the consequence of that with KJ has resulted in myself being jumped by LCR Leopard, and that is crucial as well, because it is actually quite hard. You think it wouldn't be, but it's quite hard to actually overtake round this track, and now we have been jumped by about 3 or 4 cars, I think. So a race that was looking like we were going to be taking P2 on track pretty quickly has now, I think, put us back in a net P5, P6 or something like that. So we really, really need to do something in this second stint of the race. And we are back in the inevitable DRS train. And I think you can just see by my driving here, within the dirty air around this track, I just didn't have any pace or any confidence. I really needed the clean air. I felt in clean air I had some really good speed, probably still about a tenth or two off JQB per lap, but I felt like I would probably be the second quickest on clear pace going around this track. So to be in a train now, this is a bit of a disaster for me. And the championship has gone from almost having a 60-70 point lead to now being less than 20 points, or not less than 20, but less than 30 points potentially if it finishes like this. So that just shows how things quickly can change in league racing and why momentum is just such a big thing. And as I said before at the start of this season, you're going to have races that are not going to go well. You have to expect those things to happen. It's not going to be 3 wins in a row, winning by 20 seconds like at Hanoi or Bahrain or Australia or China, when we could have won around there if a wheel did disconnect. As we're going down the inside of Hawk, and have we got damage from this? Just checking it now, and luckily we didn't get damaged, but that was just a very, very ambitious move from me. I pretty much kind of just messed up my braking and just understeered into him, so he was fully entitled to turn in there. So that was just me, not being patient, as someone has gone out of race. I'm not sure who that is. I think that's Pancakes, who's DNF'd, and that has brought out a full-blown safety car. But yeah, I think at this stage I was just feeling quite frustrated, as my teammate has now pitted, so I can't box at this point for the hards, because there is a glitch in this game that if you box on the same lap as your teammate, then you could be held there for about 30 seconds or something like that. So I didn't want to suffer that fate. And I hadn't really had these mediums on for too long, so I really wanted just track position. I decided to stay out, just can't quite get ahead of VRT Dom. That could have been crucial, and we could have made up a lot of positions as well. But yeah, it'd be great if double stacking was a feature in this game where you don't really lose that much time, because I probably would have boxed then. But no, I just didn't want to suffer this glitch, which definitely is a thing on this game. So in P5 right now, some people ahead of me. I think KJ has boxed for hards, and he's going to try and go to the end of the race, same as everyone in front. So we're going to have to pit again. There's no way we can go to the end on these tyres. And my teammate behind me, since he pitted, he's on brand new mediums. So he's on, I think, like 10 or 9 lap fresher mediums than me, which is quite significant around here. So it's going to be quite hard to keep him behind, and he's going to have to pit again as well, but he'll probably try and pit for the soft tyre towards the end of the race. So, you know, we're up and down this race so far. P2, then back to P6, P8 or something like that, and then back into P5. Jakey B, I think, is still leading at this point as we're about to look at the minimap, which I think he is here. But now I'm starting to come under a little bit more pressure from my teammate, because again, it's just so hard to overtake as I lose the car, and now my teammate is going to go down the inside of it, and I was really desperate not to let him pass, because I just wanted to keep this track position as much as I could. And there is no team orders in this team. Me and Danny actually race each other quite hard on quite a lot of occasions. As I go deep into chicane again, I was just trying so hard not to get a penalty, because I just really wasn't feeling comfortable in dirty air. He tries to go down the inside, so we give him the room on this inside. I think he's trying to hold it around this outside with the fresher tyres, and he's trying to go down the inside once again. So we're using the overtake. It's a very, very tight interior. He backs out, thankfully, last minute, because that could have been a disaster. And I started to think to myself at this point, no, this really is not worth it. We're just both losing time here. I've lost the DRS onto VRT Dom, and I need to do as much damage limitation as possible this race. Otherwise, I could be losing a lot. And you can see it, hesitant on the steering wheel. I just really was not comfortable right now. I really, really was not comfortable. I just wanted to be in free air with no dirty air from in front or no pressure from behind. I felt like that's when I could actually deliver some good pace. So right now, I'm just going to let him go. I just didn't think it was worth it, and I'm just going to let him have this track position and hopefully use him to get onto the back of VRT Dom, which I probably should have done earlier. Looking back at this, there's no real reason to fight this hard, as he's saying thank you there. And yeah, I think that was the right decision. But LCR Leopard is coming through, and they are going to the end of the race. So I'm effectively going to have to catch them from over a pit stop behind. We get onto the back of VRT Dom again, as my teammate has passed him. Leopard is behind me now as well. So again, just justifying we should have done that earlier. But now I'm going to box this lap and go onto the mediums for the end of the race. So they are going to continue. My teammate will have to pit again, but Leopard, VRT Dom a lot of people, all the people on the hard tyres who've just passed me, they are not going to pit again. And the good thing is that this pit lane is not particularly long. I think you lose like 16 seconds or something like that, after I calculated that in F1 Esports. So about 16 or 16 and a half seconds, and we've got about 14 laps of this race to go, and I think we should be over almost a second a lap quicker than them, and plus the tyres should be going off at the end as well. So now it's the time to push, and now it's the time to show what real pace I really have, because I felt like I haven't really shown that so far this race. So starting the next lap of this race, the gap to Martin is about 2.9 seconds. Jakey B is having to go through this field as well, because I don't think he chose a particularly good strategy, but he is about 6 seconds or 7 seconds up the road on me at this point. So it'll be interesting what that gap is at the end of the race. But this lap here so far is going very, very well. I'm pushing extremely hard now. But I think the good thing in my favour is that I've only had one warning this race. I've been very, very clean. But I think now in league racing, especially for track limits, people used to get a lot of penalties at the start of this game, but I think people are now starting to just improve not only their speed, but also their cleanliness when they're driving by not getting penalties and stuff. As we're catching up to Martin very, very quickly at this point. So the pace is looking really good, but I think I can confirm that Martin did have a small amount of wing damage, so he is going to be suffering a bit. But the problem is, once I get to him, it's not going to be easy to pass him. Like on this game, it's so hard to get within half a second, and you ideally need to be well over half a second quicker per lap, as we set the fastest lap of the race so far. So that definitely improved my mood, definitely gave me a little bit more confidence around this track, where I just felt like no matter what I did, it just didn't work at all. We're going in deep here, but we have got onto the back of Martin, and I think we are in the DRS zone, which we are, which you can see on the bottom right hand side of the screen here, as there's a little bit of an incident coming up ahead of us. But moving towards the end of the next lap, we've caught up to the first hard runner of FRA Florian, and we're in P14 right now, so we are a long way from points, and there is only 10 laps of this race to go. So no, this is not looking good, but luckily the Red Bull decides to let myself and Martin pass us. My teammate has now boxed, and he will inevitably be going on the soft tyre, which you can see. But in the next lap, I closed up to Martin. I've got a very, very nice exit coming off here. I'm using quite a lot of ERS now because I expected him to really, really fight this. But coming under the bridge here, he decides to actually let me go. And yeah, he really does not need to do that. But full respect to Martin. He said to me that he had damage, and he really could have fought that a lot more. But that's definitely made my life a lot easier as we do another 10-5. So these tyres are holding up very, very nicely. But moving on to lap 29, we've actually started to catch the rest of the pack, as VSR Oxtes has a little bit of an incident here. So we're going to go to the left-hand side. We've got plenty of ERS and fuel to play with right now, and that is a position. So we are now into the point. So it is starting to look much, much better behind BRL Perondi, trying to get a good exit of here, but we never ever seem to get a good chicane in the race around this track. I'm just so scared. I'm very happy to admit that I'm just terrified of getting damage or just a penalty around here. But going through this first sector, we always seem to get quite good traction. So going into this blind right-hander, so easy to invalidate, but we get a very, very good exit with the pure grip of the medium tyres. So he is not going to go defensive. We outbrake ourselves like I did on Hawk earlier, but luckily there is no contact. And again, just showing that I'm just not confident with the car around here. I'm just really, really not confident of how hard I can push it to its limits. But we do get the move done. We are into P9, and now we set off after SH Ed Felipe, who I think is currently P2 in this championship. So he's no way wanting to let me go very easy. As you can see, he is going quite defensive. So he knows that the championship is at stake and every point matters here. So I'm going to go on the ERS, not going to use any overtake at this stage here. So just making sure I keep it on the track, get a pretty good exit coming off here, using a little bit of the ERS just so I'm close enough to get a good run coming off here. But I don't think he's going to get the DRS of the cars ahead, which is really, really crucial. They're getting a pretty okay-ish exit coming off here now, but the mediums are starting to slowly go off, and now I have to deploy everything I've got because I know he's not going to make this easy, and he certainly didn't make that easy. As we move back onto the racing line, get the move done, and now we're actually making quite good progress through the field now. So despite at one point looking like there was no way we could get points, we really actually started to perform quite a good comeback at this stage, considering we were held behind Martin for a good couple of laps as well. But I think we're going to stay on board for the end of this race as well, because every point in this championship is just so crucial. I've been involved in championships where I've won and lost by 2 or 3 points on so many occasions as well, so I know how significant it is. And that's why, even if it feels like you're on such a bad momentum or even a very good momentum, there's always going to be races that just don't go your way. It's pretty much inevitable. But coming through into here now, keep on locking up into his hairpin. So again, I don't think there was one corner on this track that I felt like I nailed all the time. There really wasn't, and that's just me being honest with you. I'm just very poor around here, and I really need to improve that in my driving as well. But coming onto the penultimate lap, the tyres are starting to go off ever so slightly now, because SHL Felipe has managed to stick with me pretty well through this lap so far. But going through this turn 1 and 2, I'd probably say these were the most confident corners on the track for me here. And there are still quite a few cars ahead, and we don't have any penalties as well. So I wasn't aware of the penalty situation, but you know, you obviously want to win on track, but if people do have penalties ahead of you and it benefits you, then you're going to take it all day. And you would expect around Canada that some people would be having penalties. So that's why I was just trying so hard to make sure that I'd rather lose a 10th a lap than lose 3 or 6 seconds throughout the entire part of the race. But coming into his hairpin again, trying to go out wide, trying to get on the throttle earlier, cut back, get on the throttle nice and early, and we get a very good exit on VRT Dom here, and this is crucial. This is pretty much the only chance that I'm going to get to overtake him. So he's going very defensive, so we go on the racing lines and move up ahead, and going into such a gate, we go round the outside of the Renault. That is the move of the season, as Hawk has gone off into the wall. So that is 2 positions in 1 into start of this last lap, and we're into P6 behind V Syra, and 2 birds with 1 stone going through into it. Very unfortunate for him. I don't know if he had a puncture or if he just lost it on the traction, but that move we did, that could be critical at the end of this championship, and that was a very bold move. I knew I had to do it, otherwise it was going to be impossible. And I think at this stage, my tyres are feeling like I've used the best of my tyres right now. Although the indicator hasn't come on, I feel like the pure speed of its tyres have really started to go. So you can see I'm still struggling with the track limit slightly. I don't think we are going to be close enough to Visira, but we do have some cars within 3 seconds ahead, so you never know where you end up. I think before I finished races in like P7 and ended up P2 or P3 at times, so I was really hoping, I'm not gonna lie, that people ahead of me had penalties. Using all of my ERS, JKB just performs a masterclass with the strategy coming through. Martin has left the session, getting a good exit coming off here. Where does this put me in the race? It puts me P5, only half a second away from Clento, only 1.3 away from LCR Leopard, and at the end was less than 6 seconds away from JKB as well, because I think he had penalties. So yeah, I feel that incident with KJ at the start was a lot more significant than people probably think in terms of how much I lost, and also being jumped by Leopard as well, losing another half a second. I feel we lost a lot of time there, and yeah, to come back to P5 and consider the races I've had recently, honestly, I just decided to take that round there. I wasn't really too disappointed, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the future tracks. I'm really trying hard to get this momentum back, and I just want to say Doing this is very, very tough at times because you're under the microscope all the time and everyone sees your every emotion, everything, and yeah, you can't always be on top, and you're gonna have moments where you're down. But I've had that last season on every game, to be honest, and I feel like I've always come back, and I'm gonna try my best to get a bit of fortune to go my way, because I still feel that the speed is super, super strong. So thank you so much for the support. It really does mean everything to me, and I will catch you very, very soon. Peace.